Welcome to Figure Skating Land. This is your host, Jilly. Today I'm going to be talking about the ice dance event. Or then remember to hit that subscribe button for more figure skating related content. The ice dance event to me felt like it had so many highs, so many lows, and some surprises. I know a lot of people were like, oh, this could have been an email, or this is boring because we already know how it's going to shake out. But to be honest, I felt like after 4 continents that it was completely up in the air who could get gold. I felt like maybe 4 continents was actually maybe like a foreshadowing of what to expect. Now for bronze, I actually felt like that was going to be a no-brainer. And so that was a surprise for me there. Overall, I loved seeing the three-peat win. Very, very excited. So glad I got to be a part of that. Fingers crossed for the Olympic season. They did hint in some interviews that this would be their last season coming up. And so that does make me sad, but completely understandable. I was so excited to get to cheer them on for their victory lap. That's one of my favorite things. So yay for Maddie and Evan. For the rhythm dance, I'm telling you, in person, it hits differently. Sometimes when you're watching on TV, you're like, wow, this is like my ADHD moment in life. But in person, it felt like it was more cohesive. But I also know they've tweaked this rhythm dance a lot when it comes to the music. I absolutely love when they're doing the twist song and then Maddie ends up getting twisted. To me, that's just like a cool touch. One thing that really stood out to me, and I think this is even more than it was at Nationals, is I know it's going to be controversial to say, but they were really, really speedy. And they had a lot of ice coverage. And so I know a lot of times people are like, oh, they look slow. I saw that in a lot of Reddit comments, but I'm telling you, in person, they sped past me several times. I just feel like this whole program, they had just like the perfect packaging. I was amused with myself though, because when they were in the middle of the ice, it reminded me of when they fell at Skate America, and I was sitting there real nervous going, oh my God, please don't repeat that. Please don't repeat that. We'll never hear the end of it, us Chock and Baters. We need a team name of Chock and Bates. But anyway, and then they made it without a fall, and I was just so excited. And then I was nervously waiting for their score, and when they were in first place, my poor row, they probably thought, man, will this woman stop? I couldn't help but cheer so excitedly because I was just pretty nervous going into it because I thought, oh my gosh, this is like a repeat of 4 continents. They're going to be in second in their home country, but they were in first. And I reacted loudly and excitedly. Sorry, everyone in Section 3.
From the United States of America.
Their Take 5 free dance just feels so Gucci. They just look like they are expensive when they hop on that ice. Her costume in person is so sparkly. Like you feel like you should have your pinky in the air as they go out there. I felt like they really oozed confidence also during this outing. Like I felt like they're more hesitant in last year's Worlds when I saw in person. Not this. Like you wouldn't have known that they were at a Worlds stage in their home country and coming back from getting a silver medal behind Piper and Paul, who were waiting in the leader's chair. And just everything about this program seems so well thought out. It seems like, their body movements hit directly with the musical note. Their lifts also really hit with the music. Both the first and second one just boom right with the beat. And their twizzles were so close together. I feel like this was probably the best that they have done this program to date. And I'm so excited that they were able to do it at a home Worlds. And once again, they sped past me several times, so I didn't feel like they looked slow like a lot of comments had said. And oh my gosh, that lift before it transitioned to the more upbeat part of the music, spot on. And I felt like once it got to the fast part, it was such an audience pleaser. Not that it wasn't beforehand, but this is when we got the excuse to happily kind of clap along to the best of our ability and cheer them on. And then once you got to the final kind of lifty spin thing, that is when I knew we had made it past the potential for them to fall. And he had such a sweet moment on the ice afterwards. I love getting to see them just relieved and excited. And of course, I had my signature on-brand excitement over their win.
The scores, please. Madison Chock and Evan Bates from the United States of America have earned the
Piper and Paul won the silver medal here for the second year in a row. I'm so glad they got to have such a good end of the season. I know the Grand Prix final was very disappointing for them, so I was happy to see them have a good ending. I was so amped to see their rhythm dance in person because it looked like so much fun on TV. I felt like also this is one of the few times recently where their rhythm dance was such a strong vehicle for them that they could have kind of taken over the first place. And there wasn't anything inherently wrong with their program. It just felt like they were a little bit more careful. And so it didn't come through the way it has in the past. I must say this program in person, though, looks like they're so much faster than how it translates on TV. For like all season, I thought they seem like they're going really slow, but in person, it doesn't look like that. So I don't know kind of why it translates different from the TV. What got them was their levels. One thing that was interesting, so for the first time when I'm watching a competition, you can actually see in real time the scoring. And so I was surprised at how they were doing with the levels because in person, yes, I said they were a little bit hesitant, but in person, it wasn't as obvious to me. So it was still a really good outing. It was just a little disappointing because I just felt like these two were so used to them just like giving it so excitedly and so over the top. And it just felt a little bit hesitant. It's understandable. Their free dance in person, I enjoyed so much more than TV. Especially when it gets to the tango part, I find that really neat. But comparing them to last year for their free dance, this year they felt also like they were still kind of hesitating a bit to the point where there were times where things looked a little stiff. Like at one point during one of the turns, I thought, oh dear, it's not like they had any major mistakes, major errors. They still skated really well. But in the past, when I've watched them skate this program, especially when it was Canadian Nationals, they just looked so free there. And that's how they also looked last year at Worlds for their free dance. It was just a masterpiece. And it's interesting. I feel like, yes, this program was good kind of overall throughout the whole entire season. But last year, they had a rhythm dance that wasn't that well received, but a free dance that was a masterpiece. This year, they had a wonderful, awesome, perfect rhythm dance. And their free dance wasn't bad. It's just comparing it to their other ones in the past, it didn't stick out as much. But overall, this was still a really good outing for them. I'm so happy that they got to have this end to their season when it's been so rocky for them. And I'm intrigued to see what they come up with for next year. It's hard to talk about the bronze medal winners here, Fair and Gibson, without also talking about the Italians, Charlene and Marco. One thing that really this world's hit home for me is so many times I couldn't understand why people would often craft their programs for a certain competition like Worlds or Olympics, depending on where it is held. And I think maybe some of my confusion around that has been a lot of different people travel to these events from different countries. And because on TV, when I watch certain competitions, it doesn't seem like any particular theme or anything really hits for the audience, except it seems like the Japanese audience really flippin' loves camp. But after being at this World and being a member of the audience, I 100% understand why you would pick certain programs. Like the more energizing and exciting programs really hit hard for us Americans. Of course, I know it just wasn't Americans in the audience, but in Boston, all you got to do is party down with us and we're suddenly ready to just jump out of our seats. I think when you look at the different programs, you can see why Fair and Gibson won over, I say won, but got the bronze medal over Charlene and Marco. In fact, even if you take out Fair and Gibson out of the equation, I feel like this year something was just not hitting right with any of Charlene and Marco's programs. So, for example, like the rhythm dance for Fair and Gibson got us all so amped. Like, it was energizing and exciting. And then at one point when they did that move where Lila moves Lewis underneath her, that just got us rolling. And they really do a very effective, we're going to go to this end of the board and then do a dance off. They know their audience. We ate that up. As opposed to Charlene and Marco's rhythm dance, it really felt like it fell a little flat in the arena. Not as much as their free dance, but I don't know if it's because we're all mashed potatoed out. It just wasn't as energizing or exciting. But I think what also didn't help is I know they seem surprised by the levels that they got for their twizzles, but I am no ice dance expert. And when I saw those busted twizzles, I thought, oh man. And so I was surprised because at first it had gotten a level 4, but then it dropped a bit. And it's not that the audience don't seem to like them as ice dancers. It just, this program just didn't hit well. And I thought it was in my head at first, but then my friend who was watching from home texted me and said, y'all don't get as excited about them. And in fact, Johnny or whoever she was watching, I'm not sure which feed, had made some comment that we were less amped for them. And for the free dance, that's where also you could see just a huge kind of stark difference in how the audience reacted. So for Lila and Lewis's program, they did have that really scary lift where it felt like it wasn't going to go well. I feel like, though, it didn't really detract from the whole performance. And of course, they just knew how to get us rolling and going, doing the Beyonce So Crazy in Love and just the dance off for it. They know how Americans roll. That we ate that up. We got that. We fell for it. It was good. I think overall they could be more of a potential medal contender if they keep working on the skating skills. I think he is an amazing skater. Oh my gosh, in person is that obvious. And so just, her continuing to work on things, she's definitely made huge improvements, and you can tell she is very, very dedicated to it. As for the Italians, I really felt like that free dance fell so flat in the arena. I don't know if it's because they had the misfortune of going after such an upbeat performance from Fear and Gibson. It just really did not hit well. And it doesn't seem like, it was terrible. I don't want to say that. It's just, when you're in an arena and people like the skaters, but don't like the programs. And so, yeah, there's cheering, but there's not like the same, we are losing our minds over this. That's just what it felt like. I actually felt like I liked the program better in real life. I especially got to see the technique of how they really were on point with the arm movements. And this was a time where I really feel like just the atmosphere in the arena and everything really made that like a deciding force for who would get the bronze.
The scores, please.
I'm stressed out.
Man, that's never a good sign.
The scores, please. Lila Fear and Lewis Gibson from Great Britain have earned the same score of 123.25. Their total score, 2.
I agreed with the result. Please don't come at me. I was also excited because for Fear and Gibson, this was the first medal for Great Britain at Worlds in over 40 years, which is a huge deal. And I've actually read some things online that talk about how little the funding is for Great Britain. And so how this is going to be helpful for them, as well as maybe encouraging others to participate in figure skating. So that is really awesome. It was such a deserved bronze medal. Love their reactions. Pretty sure I lost my voice there for a bit, cheering them on. I had heard that when they went above the Italians, that Charlene got up and left. I was too busy focusing on the jumbo screen to notice. I don't know if they've done any like subsequent interviews. I do know a lot of times, I don't know if they're translation errors, but sometimes Charlene and Marco's interviews can be just kind of interesting, somewhat insulting. I don't know if that's cultural or not, or just mistranslations. But we'll see kind of what all these teams come up with next year. Hopefully, since they're going to be at a home Olympics, that there will be some programs that Charlene and Marco have that just hit a little bit better than this year's, although they did have a glow up with their robot program. Christina and Anthony got in 5th place here from America. They did a really good job. Like, they were at a home Worlds knowing that because of how things shake out, that they probably would not be on the podium. They did an awesome job. Like, if they were nervous, you would have never known. Their rhythm dance, as much as I was talking about how we were so freaking tired of mashed potatoes and alligators, it still was energizing and exciting. They seem to do really well with powerful and speedy programs because they are fast. Their free dance has come such a long way since we saw it. Rebel Horn. She has since oozed confidence while doing this program, and boy, was it spicy. Like, if I didn't know they weren't a couple, I would have assumed that they were a couple after this. So they sold me on it, and I'm so glad they also ended up selling their coaches on it, because apparently they had to convince Scott to do this program. So this was a really good glow up for them, and I love the costumes. So exciting results for them, and just overall exciting improvement for them. I do wonder how her citizenship is going. And so fingers crossed that they're going to get to have the Olympic experience, because I do think they could be a really good contender at the Olympics for at least getting in the top 10, maybe even 5th place again. Oh my God, Olivia and Tim. I feel like they should just smugly laugh at us, because many of us, including myself, were concerned about this partnership after watching them at Worlds last year. They proved us wrong. Wow. The rhythm dance was a welcome treat after the sea of mashed potatoes and discos and all that. It felt like a really cool vehicle for them. It just felt really exciting. I really grew to love this program as the season went on. Their free dance is one of my favorite free dances from this season. They are just so on point with the beats of the music, their facial expressions, their movements. You can tell that they worked really hard to get in sync with one another. This program has evolved so much, and when we saw that busted like outfits and program at Nebelhorn, and then they're just nothing like when they get to that final lift while he is skating on the ground. Sorry, I don't know what else to call it. And that is just so suspenseful. And then you get to where it switches songs and they do the ending dance. That is where you really see so much improvement with Tim, and they just did such a great job here. And they got their small medal, which I'm so glad. That made me so happy for them. Very well deserved. I cannot tell you how much I love this program. And then probably one of my favorite parts of this season is after they finish, they're kind of having a private celebration moment. Then suddenly Tim looks up into the stands and realizes there was a standing ovation, and then he reacted to that. That made me tear up. It makes me want to tear up again. That was just one of those wonderful, wholesome, like sports moments that you love. Lala came in 7th here. And I really hate to admit this, because I've always been like, oh, why doesn't Canada champion them more? I just feel like this wasn't a great season for them programs-wise. When I saw them last year at Worlds, I was stunned. I was confused also to why they haven't been propped up more. And in this year at Worlds, even if you would take out the fact that there were mistakes in the free dance, they just needed some reworking with their programs. Their rhythm dance, when I watched it on TV, I actually enjoyed it more than when I saw it in person, and I'm not quite sure why. I just think after seeing such, theatrical other programs, this just kind of like felt like, I hate to say it, but almost childish. And this is coming from someone who can channel Buddy to Elf in life. And in their free dance, I don't know why they didn't just pick the regular sounds of silence. I don't know if they're afraid of getting in trouble for getting the original song. It didn't hit as well as it did when I watched it on TV. It may be because they made some mistakes and they just weren't as passionate. It just didn't hit as well. They're still beautiful skaters, deep edges. You can tell if they just had a really good program that they would just be contenders for the next Olympic quad to be up there in the rankings. I just hope that they maybe get reworked a little bit because I wanted to like both programs in person and I adore this team and I still think they need to be propped up more, but it just felt like an off weekend and I don't know if it was just seeing it in person for the first time and it landed different or if it was just an off weekend for them. I adored the French in person. It seemed like they didn't hit as well with the audience. They did seem like they were holding back a little bit, especially during our rhythm dance. So I think maybe that's where it felt like it just didn't land as well. For their free dance, there were moments that we were all getting into and excited, especially when she does that blade over him. I expected more a reaction, but maybe it's just too Frenchy for some. Who knows? For some reason, I only recorded Green and Parsons rhythm dance. I was really proud of them because they've missed the opportunity to do Worlds in the past, and here they were in the top 10. They were number 9. I feel like their rhythm dance was good for them for this theme. But their free dance, which I don't know why I didn't record it, is just really beautiful. They do so well with kind of modern dance. And so I'm excited to see them also how they shake out in the next quad. Diana Davis and Gleb Smolkin came in 10th place here. There was a moment where we wondered if they were going to end up higher. So their rhythm dance, I felt like just wasn't as strong as their free dance. It wasn't bad. But of course, the theme this year, it's hard to find an amazing program. I must admit that I really like their free dance. I think it is really exciting from a tricks theatrical standpoint. They do some really cool lifts. I think that is definitely where their strength is. One thing that I did notice is it seems like their speed has improved since I saw them last year. That might be something just for them to continue working on because it still was a little bit noticeable compared to other teams. But their lifts are really, really their strength. And I think if they can just keep playing up to that while working on some of the other skills, that they would be really successful. Absolutely adored Yuka and Yuha. Absolutely adored them. I was so amped about seeing them in person. I was so excited. They did not disappoint. Their rhythm dance just shook me of how exciting it was. When they do that YMCA at the boards, it's just so fun. This is such a fun team. I love everything about the quirkiness. I love that they just put themselves out there, just adore them. I know they might not be the most technically solid skaters out there, but they won our hearts and they had won my hearts beforehand. I said hearts, but they won my heart beforehand. I adore them. Their free dance, I was really excited for them that all of us were real amped for chorus line program. They sold it. We were ready to just jump out of our seats and I absolutely adored that they got a standing ovation. I had read during one of their interviews that they made this program in mind for an American and Boston audience. And I'm so glad that their work came through because they really did such a good job and made the audience jump to their feet. And they made us boo, not them, when they did not get the scores they deserved. This is the second time I've been in a competition where I end up booing. That's not like me.
Yuka Orihara and Juho Pirinen from Finland have earned a free dance score of 110.74. Fourth
The Korean ice dance team's Carreira DeVille program really hit well in person. I've watched it throughout the year, but it really just got my attention. I want to see more of them. I feel like this is the first year I've watched them. My heart breaks for Allison Reed and Salias from Lithuania. I cannot believe one mistake like that ended up costing them the free dance, and it made it to where the Finnish team that almost lost the free dance got to squeak by. Which awesome for them. That was very suspenseful, but man, I feel bad for the Lithuanians. I know that she just got citizenship so she can go to the Olympics. I've been trying to see if they'll be able to try to win spots back in Beijing. I really hope they can. That was just devastating. This Swiss Barbie program was a lot of fun. It was actually probably one of my favorite Barbie programs because we had about like 3. Favorite experiences during ice dance and actually worlds in general is there was this man that was seated beside me during some of the rhythm dance who broke out a flag from Slovakia, and he was so excited and waving his flag and tearing up during the performance. I can be dense sometimes. I was thinking, man, this man must really love ice dance. Must really love Slovakian ice dance where he's from. Everybody else around me was smart enough to piece together that he was likely a family member, and it turns out he was the uncle of the woman from the Slovakian team. And so that was just such an adorable experience, and it really made me think about how amazing it is that we have the opportunity to interact with people from so many different countries during these events, how individuals from smaller federations, they may not be getting the gold medal, but just them competing in general is such an exciting event for them and their family. That was just so touching. I love that part. Here are some of the messages from the ice dancers to the audience. Overall, really enjoyed this ice dance event. I thought I wouldn't enjoy the rhythm dance as much. I was a little mashed potatoed out, but it was still really fun. And I think the audience just made it. Stay tuned because I'm going to be providing videos about the men's, the pairs, and then some vlogs. Oh my gosh, soon it'll be time for World Team Trophy. And then no, this season does not need to end. Keep it going. All right, y'all. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. See y'all next time.
From the United States of America, Chock and Bates. International Olympic Committee, Kim. He will award the medals.
Have they played the national anthem yet?
Not yet.
Please welcome the president of U.S. Figure Skating, Sam Hochscher. He will award the flowers. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can, please stand for the national anthem of the winner.